Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. This is Ali Raftar back with a brand new video. Today is Saturday morning, therefore, it is Finance Talk, April 28th, 2018. If you're on the West Coast, 10 o'clock in the morning, welcome to our talk. And if you're on the East Coast, 1 o'clock, good to have you on board. Today, we're going to discuss an interesting topic and subject, and that's the topic of debt collection. Now, a lot of customers in the previous couple of weeks have asked me, look, Ali, can you discuss the subject of debt collection a little bit more thoroughly in reference to what can be done, what are some of the possibilities of fighting these debt collectors, some of the laws, and of course the FDCPA is the biggest law, which is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Now, here's the thing: there's a lot of components to the FDCPA. A lot of customers don't understand, and I'm going to break that into different components so you can get some clarity, better understand what the FDCPA is, how it protects you as a consumer, as well as the debt collectors who are actually trying and attempting to collect any alleged debt that they have, certain things that you need to do and tell them specifically in writing on how you can basically, remove these items from your report, as well as ensuring that they cease any collection activities that hasn't been properly audited. Okay, so let's go into this topic. It's not going to be a very long video. I know that you guys have things to do, but more specifically, I want you to take away information from this video, and I want you to pay close attention to the resources that I will be sharing with you today. So the first thing let's go over is, what is the FDCPA? What is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act? Now, a lot of people will give you different definitions. From what I know and from my personal and professional experiences, I would classify that as it is a law that protects the consumer, which is yourself, from deceptive, misleading, and illegal strategies that debt collectors use in order to make money on the debt that they actually brought from an original creditor. This is a purchased debt. Okay. Sometimes that is assigned, right? So you have agencies out there that get assignments from, let's say, a contract with a telecommunications company. It could be AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and of course, utility companies. They can assign the debt. But again, even in any assignment, there are certain laws that debt collectors have to abide by. It is also a string of different attributes that highlights exactly what debt collectors can and cannot do when it comes to the activities in relation to actually collecting a sum of debt or money from a consumer. This is very, very critical. So just keep that in mind. You also have, under the FDCPA, procedures that govern how debt collectors can do business, specifically how they can conduct business in the first place. This, of course, includes, but not limited to, let's say, the logistics, how they mail information, what they include to the communications with telephone, as well as how they report items on their credit reports. Now, of course, you're in this video, it's because you've known Best Credit Resources to help with your credit. So we're actually going to discuss intensely on the subject of credit on the matter of debt collection activities. So here are some basics, and it's not just the basics that you're going to be observing here. There are some highlights that I put in yellow for you to pay close attention to, because this is something that you probably haven't heard before or have not seen. So let's go over some of these basics. Now, first of all, when they first communicate with you, written correspondence from the debt collectors must be sent to you 5 days from identifying themselves with you, who they are, either by phone or even on a credit report. Okay, that means that from the first date that you see them being reported on your reports, on any of the reports, whether it be TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian, that constitutes the first activity of debt collection. They have to send you within that 5 days from their first date a written notification and correspondence that they are attempting to collect a debt. And of course, validation is very common, right? But here's the thing. There's a lot of requests from these customers, and debt collectors actually, when they get a request to validate, they must cease all collection activities. And by the way, that includes credit reporting, because there are certain case laws in the past that if you have an item that you're reporting on your credit bureau, it actually constitutes a collection activity. Okay. And sometimes they'll even, when you send a validation letter, actually attempt to what we call settle, right? They'll send you a settlement letter. That actually also is a collection activity. So when you're actually sending a debt validation and they actually send you a letter in return trying to settle, it's breaking the law. They haven't validated the debt. And you can clearly say that, and you can show them that you're going to use this as evidence for them breaking the law. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so you have evidence of them reporting on your bureau. Past that 5 days, have they sent communication? No, that's one violation. They're trying to settle with you, second violation, you have evidence. Let them stack the evidence for you and show them, look, you're liable for X amount of dollars. Okay. Now, this also includes collection activity, such as phone calls or any type of things that they do. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay. They have to accurately, completely, and certifiably verify and validate the debt in accordance to the FDCPA for compliance reasons, as well as the FCRA for accuracy. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau issues very, very big consent orders for those who are non-compliant, based on the Metro 2 compliance standards as credit reporting, and of course, utilizing the eOscar system to put inaccurate items on the report. Now, what is an inaccurate item in accordance to debt collection? Simple. The debt hasn't been validated. They're trying to, put the item on a report that hasn't been validated. They're actually trying to settle. All these kind of things. It's like it demonstrates inaccuracy in addition to willful non-compliance. Okay, it's not that they don't know that. They probably got a whole lot of case laws. Same debt collection company in the past that look, hey, look, you're trying to collect the debt. Case laws over the years have been accumulated against the same, and they're actually just blatantly ignoring the law. But you have the right to exercise that, right? So that's why I'm giving you in plain terms, like, the basics. But some of that actually goes deeper into the basics, like, what does ceasing all collection activities mean, right? Credit reporting collects, it is an activity that relates to debt collection. Trying to settle, that's an activity, all these type of things. So just keep that in mind. Now, here are some of the things that they can actually not do. Okay, as debt collectors, we know the basics. They cannot call you before 8 o'clock in the morning and 9 p.m. your time locally. They can actually not solicit or advertise to third parties about the fact that a debt is owed. This includes, by the way, putting items on a credit report. That's actually considered solicitation. That's actually considered awareness. Whether or not they want to believe that without such validation, that's actually two laws breaking at the same time. They cannot tell or call your place of employment. That's basically why we actually tell all our customers who are trying to do credit repair themselves that, look, fix your personal identifiers, remove your employers from your reports, because you don't necessarily have to have that data up there. It gives all the more power and leverage to the debt collectors to harass you further, even though they're blatantly, disrespecting and disregarding the law. You just don't want to have to deal with that. Okay. Also, they cannot harass you, use profane language, and threaten you. That's illegal at the highest form. Also, they cannot make misrepresenting facts. Okay. And by the way, these facts can also include putting items on a credit report. Okay. Because they haven't verified the information. That the debt hasn't been validated. So it's not completely accurate and it's not certifiably compliant in essence to the FCRA and the FDCPA. So that's very harsh. The penalties for that is very harsh. It's not the minute little things of FDCPA $1,500 penalties. We're talking upwards of $100,000 per incident. So it's very critical that you are aware of this, because compliance is very heavy now. Okay, as you know, and if you're not aware, Experian's actually going through a $300 million suit with multiple states across the United States participating in this. So non-compliance is very severe, particularly now. So just keep that in mind. There's something you need to know. So once again, right, if they report an item on your credit report that's adversely affecting the scores without really validating, that's wrong. It's illegal. In fact, it's breaking compliance rules and regulations in accordance to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And as a debt collector, it consists of a debt collection activity without validation. So that too is another penalty. So just keep those things, very close to your knowledge, because that's something you need to know when it comes to dealing with these debt collectors. Here's another one. Make false allegations or threaten to sue as it has no basis, right? So once they send you like a lawsuit letter or whatever it is, they just say, look, first of all, you haven't verified the debt, never validated it, right? Just swear an affidavit, write an affidavit up, contact an attorney. It doesn't take much to do an affidavit and send it to court as a sworn testimony that, look, all this is evidence that they haven't really done anything. Take your credit report snapshots, all that good stuff, and show them like all the rules that they broke. And that the fact that they're attempting to collect the debt, for such a small amount is nothing compared to the consent orders and the liabilities that they have to pay. Well, we're going to go further into that. Let's go and see how you can pressure them to stop. Okay. So I'm going to give you a method that I use for a lot of my customers. And of course, it's important that you know this, because these are the three, little letters that will help you identify whether or not debt collection is legal and valid, particularly in your situation or circumstance. First thing is the C. It's called the C.A.T method, right? Not those adorable little creatures. I'm talking about cat, like the abbreviation, right? So C stands for collection rights and full verification of that right. How do you do that? First of all, you got to ask them, like, you do your debt validation letters, but it doesn't really go further to go into the actual business of debt collection, right? The right to collect. So let's go over that. You have to ask them, like, I want to see thorough quit claim language verification. And that includes the original contract or agreement between the collection agency and the original creditor, or even an assignment agreement that allows them to collect. Like we talked about utility companies, right? The A stands for authority to collect, right? Do they have on the jurisdiction the licensing, right? Do they have any actions against them as a debt collector in the state that you're living in? You can check Pazer for that. You can register; it's free, but you pay for the records. It's 10 cents per search. You can actually go check the court records. You can actually Google search their collection agency name, the recent dates. You can sort out Google results based on recent dates. Could be 180 days, whatever not. Also, you can actually check with the National Association of Credit and Debt Collection Professionals. Now, what I'll do is, because this is a live stream, I'm going to have to send the resources later, but I'll put it down below this video description if you're watching the replay. But those are some of the areas that you can actually check if they actually have the authority to collect, aside from the right to collect, which we already verified. So you can actually include that in the debt validation letter, right? You can actually write it more deeper just on the understanding, and you can actually use Google search. You can snapshot some of the results you get, evidence, et cetera, just to help you out. It's custom to you, but I'm giving you the tool to make it more effective when it comes to debt validation, like almost like an inescapable truth, right? And then finally, you have the T, which stands for the time. So is this item still collectible based on the statute of limitations? Now you can check with the laws of your current state. I know California, for example, is 4 years. And just to keep in mind, the statute of limitations starts from the date of the charged off status of the original creditor. Okay. Has it been, did you surpass that date for the collection activity? Are they attempting to renew, restart? All that stuff is illegal. They cannot do that. They cannot re-age a charged off account debt. It's, first of all, the status of the charge off definitely means that the original creditor written off their books, so it's not there anymore. But now when the collection account or agency takes it over and they buy this debt, right? Like you got to check that quick claim stuff, the language to make sure it's good, it's accurate. You got to make sure they got the authority to collect, and of course that they're actually within the statute of limitations. On those three components on its own is a very dangerous tool against the debt collectors. Now, we always talked about the legal practices based on the previous few slides there, but more tools for you to use against these debt collection agencies. So let's go over the next slide. I want you to pay close attention to this slide, because these are the agencies that can actually help you. Given that you stacked up some evidence, right? Like the C.A.T method, you've written down everything you can. You've done your research, written a pretty composed letter with some snapshots and all the rules and regulations that they broke. Also, you can actually file a complaint against all these agencies. Now, what you want to do is the Secretary of State where you reside, you can file a complaint against them, and there you can also file a complaint against the collection agency's registration, where they are, like, which state have they registered the business in, and just file a complaint there as well. With the same letter, right? Like you create multiple copies, you can send it by mail. Just keep the same letter and then just photocopy it and then send it to those agencies. Okay, Attorney General's office, by the way, in your state, it's very powerful. You can actually send a complaint to them. You can actually send it to the Attorney General's office of where they're registered, these collection agencies, right? You have the Federal Trade Commission. In most cases, they can actually relay it back to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But if you have to send it separately, right? So if you send it to the FTC, they actually have internal programs and communication networks that they submit these collection agency names to, and it red flags them. So that's something you want to do. It's actually called the Consumer Sentinel Network. There's also ACA International. ACA International is basically the Association of Credit and Debt Collectors. Like I said, after this video, because it's live, I haven't put the links yet, but I will share that information with you, after you come back and the replay, okay? There's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. These guys are the ones that are the most critical. They're actually very powerful. Just to give you a heads up, they go up and beyond all the state and regulatory bodies. They're right below the Supreme Court in terms of power, same as the IRS. So they're very powerful. In fact, I would even say a little bit more powerful than the Internal Revenue Service. But they actually are there to issue these orders and consent orders. And they've been set up after 2008, after the Dodd-Frank law. And a lot of different illegal activities taking place. So they had decided to form this institution. So you probably already heard of them. If you've not, then check them out, please. There's a lot of resources there. So much information that you can gain. Better Business Bureau, you can actually file a complaint with them as well. And why do you want to do this is because it affects the way that the reputation holds up. Sometimes what happens, and this is an insider trick that I want you to pay close attention to. Let's say I'm an original creditor and you borrow something from me, okay? But let's say you default on my debt. Now I'm going to look up and see which collection agency is actually reputable. So on BBB, like their credit ratings and everything like that, their business ratings, I'll make a decision based on that. So they can actually lose business for that. But in addition to that, there's some enforcement that BBB can take as evidence against these debt collectors. So all these agencies is something to consider once you've prepared your letter in a very strong way. And use the C.A.T format. Like I told you, C.A.T, the C stands for collection rights. So you got to check the quit claim language. A stands for authority. Do they have the authority and the licensing in the state that you're living in? And then T stands for time. To have the debt past the statute of limitations, the original charge-off status from that date to where you are now. How long has it been? And in your state, what is the statute of limitation for debt? So keep that in mind, and keep these agencies in mind when it comes to filing complaints and issues against them with clear evidence of their non-compliance and breaking the rules and laws. Something that you need to have. So I hope that you understand this so far, and this video was helpful. So I'm going to leave it at that. It was very short, concise, and precise. I wanted to make sure that you got the information, you got the knowledge that you need to pursue these debt collectors, and that you understand clearly, what are some of the things that they're violating right off the get-go. With that said, I'm going to leave it over to you. I want you to tell me, what are some of the things that you'll do first? Out of the C.A.T method, are you going to check if they have the right to collect? What have you learned about the quit claim language? What did we discuss in the previous couple of videos on that? We said that, look, if in the actual language itself, it states that the debt is not completely accurate, they're taking the debt at their own risk, then that's definitely something that's inaccurate and therefore cannot be validated, right? So are you going to check that out? Are you going to look at the authority to collect? Do they have the licensing in your state, or even are you going to look at the time, the statute of limitation, right? So whatever it is, let me know by sharing, leave a comment, leave some feedback. If this is your first time on my channel, don't forget to turn the notifications on, subscribe, turn the bell notification on, so every time there's a new video, you'll be the first to be notified. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you like the content that I share with you today. I look forward to giving you more value. I know that I haven't been too active recently, but I will be launching a couple of videos. I'm organizing myself to add the most value, right? So I look forward to seeing you again. Once again, this is Ali Taraftar, your guide and mentor from bestcreditresources.com. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.